kick it off and start recording. First Monday in October, guys, fourth quarter push. It's always the fun, exciting, thrilling time of the business. So I hope you guys are pumped for it. Our team's rocking it. I'm excited to have Meredith on tonight, and I'll give you kind of a little background on her. I wanted to quickly just shout out, I don't think neither of them are on here, but Claire and Julie are already rocking Pushing to Success Club. And Amanda just shared her first ever transformation post, and she lost 11 pounds and almost 24 inches with country heat. So never underestimate that program because it works. I'm super proud of you. So let's get right to it because I'm sure Meredith has a lot to share. I secretly watched Meredith for a long time. She probably doesn't know this, but I just never crossed paths with her really in person until we were on the cruise. And just proof that you guys have got to work for those events because it's so rewarding. Now I'm like, I can message her whenever I want. Not that I bother her, but maybe I do. But it's just nice to kind of connect with people that you feel like are totally like you. And her team went elite at the end of last year. I kind of feel like our team is exactly where her team was last year from what we talked about. Hey, Amy. Oh, perfect. You're muted. So I'm excited for her to kind of share her journey. She also just completed the Ultimate Reset, I think Sunday. So I'm sure she'll share a little bit about that because I don't think anybody on our team has done it yet. And it's definitely on my bucket list. So she can tell you all her accolades. The main thing is she went elite last year. I think she's an all-star legend. So she's hit Success Club more than 24 months in a row. So she kind of knows what she's doing. And she left her corporate job in the summer. July, I think, June, right before Summit. So she's definitely inspired me to know that if she can do it, any of us can do it. And I know that's on a lot of your goal boards. So Meredith, I'm going to stop talking and let you take it away.
Yay. Thank you, Danielle. And hi, guys. I'm excited to be here tonight. If you can't tell already, I have a lot of energy. I had a lot of energy to begin with, and then the Ultimate Reset, I feel like I'm on rocket fuel. So if you guys haven't done it before, this is coming from someone who was previously kind of addicted to Energize and a long time ago, super addicted to caffeine. I would have 6 cups of coffee a day. So I was not naturally energetic, but after doing the reset, I'm like, oh my God, totally inspired and just feeling amazing. So we can talk about that, but really, Danielle said, oh, she'll share her accolades, but I don't even none of that means anything to me, honestly. It's about being in this business for the right reasons and being excited about it. So hopefully there's something in this business aside from the money piece that excites you. And I know recognition and pushing for elite and being an elite team is a really big goal, and it's really cool to be elite and to be part of an elite team. But I want you guys to not get distracted by the glitz and glamour and all the accolades and stuff, because sometimes that's a facade. There's a lot more behind that. There's people behind that, and I want you guys to always keep that front of mind. But I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me, kind of how I got started in this business. And I have a lot to share with you guys tonight. I do have a PowerPoint because I'm all over the place. A lot of the time I get sidetracked and on tangents. So to keep my pinball brain focused, I do have some slides. So I'm going to share those with you guys. So hopefully, it's a lot of words. I'm not one to have animations and pictures and stuff, but I will be chatting about those things and kind of taking you guys through what I think of as really the core principles that helped me and my team go elite last year, and really what I'm trying to get back to. Because I'll tell you guys, let me back up a couple of years. So I signed up initially as a coach in 2012. June of 2012, my coach, Nicole O'Neill, I don't know how many of you guys know her, but she is one of Elizabeth Harkey's coaches. So all 3 of us used to work together at Bacardi USA, so a liquor company. And that's how we met each other originally. And it was a really fun job. And I worked for Nicole and Liz. And then when Liz left the company, I moved into Liz's position. So we always kind of kept touch, but she and Nicole kept in touch a little bit more closely. So Nicole signed up as one of her coaches when she got involved in Beachbody in 2012. And I sort of sat on it for a couple months. I was like, sounds a little sketchy. I don't know. So I ended up finally taking the plunge simply because I saw Liz getting these results. I saw her traveling and always talking about how awesome she felt, and she looked amazing. So I was like, sweet. So I'm going to buy this shake and have abs and $1 million. Great. Sign me up. So I kind of had the wrong impression of it. And, that's not Liz's fault or anyone's fault but my own. But I did it, and I signed up. I'm competitive by nature. So I was like, give me the hardest program, kind of growing up as an athlete. So I kind of forgot about the fact that maybe for 10 years I'd been like drinking and eating my way through college and post-college. Not exactly the athlete I was prior. So I signed up with Insanity, and I did it for like 10 days, and I hated it. You guys, I was like, not on the verge of tears, but like swearing more at the TV than I think I ever have. I was like, I hate this guy, Shaun T. I don't know who he is, but I feel like I'm going to throw up every workout and I'm dying. So after 10 days of it, I was just like, this is not my jam. I hate this. And a lot of it was because it was hard. And I think I wasn't willing to face the facts that I was out of shape, and I wasn't willing to embrace the struggle or make the sacrifices to really get those results. So not to mention I was putting like oatmeal and honey and yogurt and God knows what else into my shakes. This is back like before Shakeology really tasted very good. So I was basically making like a daiquiri out of my shake every morning and wondering why I wasn't getting results. So anywho, I put my order on hold for like 9 months, maybe even longer, because I was just like, this is a big scam. Like I'm not into it, but I never canceled. And I kind of watched from a distance. And for those of you that maybe have been in the business a little longer, I was in a dead spot. So I wasn't seeing any activity on my account. I wasn't seeing any new coaches or anything accumulating. So I was just like, well, I don't know. I don't know what these coaches are doing, hitting Emerald and stuff, but whatever. So I really kind of stepped away from it for 2 years. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I was sort of annoyed by all of Liz's success and her traveling and her dream life. I was like, really? Like, this can't be real. So I think I actually unfollowed her at one point because I was more so envious, and if I'm really being honest, like I wanted her life, but I just didn't think it was possible. And during this time, my coach had kind of taken a step back too. She was having personal stuff going on in her life, so neither one of us were doing anything. And finally in 2013, I changed jobs. So I got out of the liquor industry and I started working for Oracle, which is a software company, and totally different field. I went from slang and booze to software technology and data security, like no connection there. But really why I had taken such an about face was because I realized that my life was kind of going off track. Like I was really unhealthy. I wasn't happy, was making bad decisions and regretting like every single weekend. And I had gotten to a place where I thought, you know what, this job is toxic for me and I need out. So I got this lofty job at a software company, which, I thought was going to make everything right for me. When I told people I worked for Oracle, everyone was like, oh, Oracle, oh my God, big company. And I had a nice salary and I just thought everything was going to be great. But I realized that a lot of those habits crept in, and it really wasn't my job. It was me. So to spare you guys the gory details, it took me about, another year and a half almost to figure that out. And I didn't have any like rock bottom moment or anything. But I just decided really one day that I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I finally was in a relationship with my now boyfriend, Chris, and I had been single most of my life, and I think I'd always blamed like my lack of relationship, for my lack of happiness. So now I'm finally in a relationship and still not happy. And I realized that if I didn't change myself, I was going to lose this guy. And when I say that, Chris gets mad. He's like, I would have stuck with you. I'm like, no, I was crazy. And I was also just not loving myself. And I think it's very honest and true that when you don't love yourself, nothing else in your life can really be working. You have to be like fired up and be like good in your own skin to really feel like you're going to be successful in life. That's my true belief. So anyways, on July 7th, 2014, I had gotten a promotion in my job to a field sales job. So I was going to be traveling and everything. Actually, let me back up. June, I decided I was going to do something called 100 Days of Healthy. So I don't know if did anyone ever hear about that guy who did 100 Happy Days? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I had seen this and read that guy's article about how he was kind of depressed before he did this, and how he got out of that 100 days and all of a sudden was like feeling happier and rejuvenated. And that really inspired me. And I thought, man, you know what? Like, I got to do something like this, like for my own happiness, but I don't want to copy him. So I did 100 Days of Healthy. And for 100 days, I wanted to pinpoint, one thing every day that was going to make me feel healthier and happier. So at this point, like Beachbody was still not really on my radar. But I developed a schedule. Like, okay, if I was staying at my boyfriend's house, I was going to go to this gym class. And if I was at my place, I was going to go to, this spin class, because they were in 2 different towns. So I kind of developed that plan, and then I got this promotion. So it's almost like, okay, I made my head on straight, and then I hit this huge roadblock where it's like, well, now you're going to be traveling for 85% of the time. So I thought, well, shoot, my plan is now out the window. What am I going to do? So I decided to dust off my 21-Day Fix DVDs and unpack my 19 bags of Shakeology that were on the shelf and give this freaking thing a shot. So I decided, okay, I'm going all in, and I'm holding myself accountable on social media, which scared the crap out of me because I was not a social media person and super insecure. So doing that was something that really scared me, but I also knew that if I'm publicizing my goals and I'm publicizing this journey, I'm not going to go out with my friends on a Saturday night and get blackout drunk and eat late night pizza, because I got to post this on social media, and I know they're going to judge me, and I'm going to be a phony if I'm living that life and not having the dots connect. So I do, advocate for moderation. This is saying you don't have to be like squeaky clean all the time, but really that was something that held me accountable for once in my life. So now fast forward through that 100 days, at the end, I had never felt better. I was like, oh my God, like I actually am getting results. Like I felt like a new person. Like it was insane. And along that time, people had started reaching out to me, and they were like, what are you doing? Like, I'm seeing you working out and like eating healthy. Like, what are you doing? And I honestly, you guys, wasn't even like, I'm a coach, want to join a challenge group? Like I was kind of just like, I'm trying to get healthy. Like, here's the stuff. I think you can enter my coach ID, and then you can be part of my team. Like I really had no idea. So it was really genuinely sharing this because I knew that it was working for me. And I knew that there's people out there that had the same challenge and needed this in their life. So I was really coming from that place of wanting to just help people and hold myself accountable. So that's kind of how I worked my business for really about a year. It wasn't until the following July that I went to Summit of last year, 2015, and had this aha moment where I went there. I was a diamond coach, and like my emeralds were like my mom and Chris. So I didn't really have like a real diamond. It was kind of forced. And I think at the time, I remember I had 39 elite points. And that was simply because I was signing people up as discount coaches, and they were accumulating volume. It wasn't because I had a bunch of team members work in their business. So I got back and I realized, like, man, these people, they have a dream life. Like this life that Liz is living is not just her. This is a bunch of other people. And some of these people, I just looked at them and I thought, if they can do it, like, why not me? Why not me? So I started to kind of develop that vision and really talk about the business side of this. And at the time it was to pay off my student loans and to continue to hold myself accountable. So in sharing that, I started to attract people that wanted that same thing. People that were like, well, I want to pay off my student loans and be in shape too. Like, this sounds awesome. So I started to attract people that wanted that same goal. So what was really cool is now I was like able to link arms with them, and we all started sort of like marching to this common goal. And it became really fun because it wasn't about like the numbers. It wasn't about getting to elite. It wasn't about being, a 15-star diamond. It was about achieving our goals and our visions in our lives and having a really good time in the process. So fast forward, I met with my corporate mentor in September of last year, and I didn't even know how I had been selected to like meet with him. And I said, I want to go elite. And he's looking at my points and he's like, well, it's September and you have like 55 points and you're a diamond. Like, I don't know. Like he was like, I'm not trying to like blow, pop your bubble, but he's like, what's your plan? I'm like, I'm just going to have fun. So I'm going to break that down for you guys and kind of tell you what the actual science behind it was, because I am a numbers person and it kind of got the best of me this year. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that. But I started to realize, okay, if I can get 5 of my PS coaches to Success Club every month for the next 4 months, and if I can help them bring on, 3 new coaches every month, this could happen. Like, this could really happen. So I started to break down these goals into little incremental steps. So it didn't seem like this big whopping goal. It was really just what I had done starting out was run a challenge group, get results, and help people get results, and help them share that with other people genuinely and sincerely, not for the purpose of sales, not for the purpose of building a team, but to truly help them feel better in their lives. So that's kind of the preface to all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. Do you guys have any questions or anything before I move into this? Or we can wait until the end, whatever's best.
Meredith, I just wanted to say that York is working with Chris. So I connected them together.
Oh, yes, he had a call with you the other night, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, okay. Awesome.
He's been loving not surrounded by girls all the time.
Yes. It's so funny. I think Chris loves it too. So thank you. Cause he's, it's been really fun. And that's a whole nother topic I could talk. Good. I'm glad you're, I could talk about is running this business with your spouse, or significant other. And Chris, he was never not supportive. And I think part of it was cause he started to see me like feel better and look better. And he was like, this is awesome. Like, okay. But more so, he didn't really want the workouts. I think what happened though was he started to see me get results after like max 30 and he was like, what the F? Like you're going to the gym or I'm going to the gym at like 2 hours every day and you're jumping around in your living room and you have a 6-pack. Like he was like, I got to do this. So, if you have a spouse or someone in your life, someone close to you that's not supportive, just keep doing you and keep like getting the results and don't pressure them because I just stopped asking him. And then a year later, he was like, I think I'm going to do max 30. I was like, okay. So the rest is history. But anyways, let me go ahead and share these and I can skip over the first couple of slides. Can you guys see that? Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. So let me, all right. So I kind of want to just, so I told you guys like, okay, from September until December, we went from having about 60 elite points to having, I think I ended the year with like 140. So like just enough to get there and 5-star diamond, but we ended up being number 188 in the company. So top 200, like you guys, I started at like number 5,000 last year. And I mean, so this is, I'm saying all of this to you guys, not to brag, I don't want to be like, I'm so great, but I want you guys to know that you can do this, but you have to put in the work and you have to understand that this business doesn't play favorites. It works for the people who work for it. And, the last 3 months, really, or maybe the last 4 since I quit my corporate job have been a struggle. And a lot of it is because I lack the secret sauce that I'm going to talk to you guys about in the next couple of slides. And it's because I got caught up in those numbers. So I kind of told you guys I am a numbers person. I love math. Like math and science were always my jam in high school because it like made sense. I could add things up and there was an answer. So when I got to elite and I got to top 200 last year, I thought, okay, I got to do it again. I got to do it again, and I got to do it better. And I have these crazy goals that are all based on numbers. And I started to hear about the top coaches recruiting 40 and 60 coaches a month and like all this crazy stuff. And I started to think, I got to recruit 20 coaches a month and 20 in Success Club. And I was pressuring my coaches and dragging them along as opposed to like cheering them on and linking arms with them like I did last year. So I really think that happened. And then I also just lost sight of the basics because I started to think, okay, we're a top 200 elite team. I have to make new trainings. I have to run a like page. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to be like doing all these crazy things. And it overcomplicated the business. So if I could give you guys one tip, it's to not overcomplicate this business. It's as simple as this. And I actually heard this, I don't know, hopefully all of you guys know who Keith Callahan is, but he's Elizabeth Harkey's upline. And he had said one time, this just stuck with me because I was like, that is so simple, is you get healthy and fit, you show others how to get healthy and fit, and then you show others how to show others how to get healthy and fit. And that's really it. Like that is what this business is all about. And you celebrate every small victory along the way. And this is another thing that I kind of lacked over the last couple months because I got so focused on growing my team to superstar diamond this year. That was one of my goals. So I started to think everyone's got to be diamond. And then I started like pressuring everyone. And all I was celebrating was like diamond, diamond, diamond. And it was making a lot of my coaches, I think, forget what was really important in this business. And I take full responsibility for that and realize now that like that's what was different this year. That's why this year has actually been a little bit harder than last year because I wasn't doing those basic things and I was overcomplicating the business. Now, I do this, I like analogies a lot. So I compare entrepreneurship or, did I even spell that right? Entrepreneurship is like the Olympics. And I don't know, has anyone, just by show of hands, and I can only see a couple boxes, so I'll flip through them. has anyone had resistance from people close to you about coaching and your commitment? Yeah. Okay. So pretty much everyone. And that's something that I experienced a lot when I first got started, and when I really started to feel passionate about this and excited, because I was pouring a lot of my time and attention into the business last year. When I was working full time, it was busy season at work. So I was functioning on probably 3 to 5 hours of sleep most nights, but it was because I was like pumped. I loved it so much. And it was all of my free time that I did fail to keep touch with a lot of my good friends, but the phone works both ways. And a lot of them were kind of unsupportive, didn't really understand this. So my next tip for you guys, it's not written on the slide, but is to communicate your goals to your friends and your close family. Even if it's people important to you in your life, even if they're not supportive, tell them why you're doing this. Tell them it's not to leave them behind. It's to make a difference in your life and the lives of others. And you would love to have them join you, but you're going to have to explain your vision, which I'm going to get into in the next couple slides. But the reason why I compare it to the Olympics is because if you were telling your friends and family that you were training for the Olympics and you said, okay, the Olympics just passed, but damn it, I'm going to be in the 2020 Olympics and I'm training my ass off for the next 4 years. What do you think they would respond with? They'd probably be like, oh my God, that's so awesome. Like, go you. And they'd be cheering you on that day of your competition and so excited to see you on the stand and taking those medals, right? But when you say, hey, I'm going to build a 6-figure business that's going to change my life and my family's life and the whole trajectory of my life for the next 4 years, and it's going to take time and sacrifice, they're like, what? Like, nobody wants to support you. But you have to get in this mindset that you are an Olympian in this business. It's going to take 3 to 4 years of hard work to get to where you want to go, but it's going to be so worth it. But it's all based on a decision. So if you think of Michael Phelps, he didn't show up one day and just decide to be the most decorated Olympic athlete. He decided way back when he said, you know what, I'm going for it and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to put in the countless hours of work, failure, dedication, but I'm going to make a decision every day to get up and give this all I've got. So everything in this business and everything in our life for that matter. So if you just walk away from this call and you're like coaching is not my thing, like whatever you want in your life, it's going to take a decision. And it's going to take a decision every single day because all those little things along the way, those are what count. It's not the big things. It's not the big decisions that you make in life. More often than not, it's the little ones that compound over time. So, so the law of decision, I don't have any of you guys read John Maxwell's, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership? Yeah, okay, a couple of you guys. It's kind of textbooky, but if you get the workbook version of it, it's a really good one. I think it gives you examples and then makes you kind of reflect on things. But one of the laws he talks about is the law of decision and determining what you can and can't control. And when you can really focus on the things that you can control and understand that most of the time and the effort in Beachbody is going to be temporary. I think of it as like a deposit or a down payment on your future. So it's going to be really hard and there's going to be days that you don't want to do it, but most of the time it's temporary. If you can put in hard work for even like 3 months of like grueling work, look at the return. This is a delayed response business, and I'll talk about that a little more later. But if you work your ass off for 4 years, there's a really good chance that you're going to have a whole lot of success and you can scale back and kind of kick your feet up. I think that's a pretty routine thing. If you look at some of the coaches that have been in the business for 3 to 4 years, some of them like Melissa McAllister are still invested in, showing up every day. And I admire her so much, but there's a lot of coaches like, and Liz is still working her business, but when she has her baby, I'm sure she's going to take some time off, and I think that that's something very inspiring. And that's a big reason why I got into this business, is to have that freedom of time. So for example, you can decide, when I'm talking about controlling what you can and can't, is you can decide to hit the snooze button or not. So if you want to build the business, you have to get up earlier or stay up later. That is it's a given. So if you feel like it's not working, you don't have enough time, you do have the time. It's a matter of deciding where you're going to allocate it and being very efficient with that time. And we can talk more about that if you guys have questions on what I did when I was working full-time, because I was very efficient, more so than I am now being a full-time coach. I'm like all over the place. But you cannot decide the hours you work if you're working a full-time job. So that was something I realized, okay, from the hours of like 8 to 5 and sometimes 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. if I was traveling, I'm not going to be able to be engaged in my business. But I have to control the time that I do have free and maximize the shit out of that. So, and I hope you guys don't have kids or But all right, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the Magic 3 secret sauce. And this is actually a combination of something I heard from Summer Tucker. I don't know how many of you guys know who she is, but she's a superstar diamond coach. I really, really love her. She has crazy passion and usually ends up like screaming in her videos or speeches, but like it fires me up, and like she's like my spirit animal. So I saw a video that she did on this, but this is actually from a Danny Johnson presentation or seminar. I don't know how many people of you guys know Danny Johnson, but she did 6 figures in 6 months. It's like $100. I did actually listen to it. It was pretty good, but she is very, very like faith-filled. So it was a little bit like, praise Jesus, a little too much for my taste, but I got some really good takeaways. And this was one of them. The Magic 3 is consistency, vision, and humility. So we talk about consistency. This isn't just in your business. This is fitness. This is your mindset and your business. So ask yourself these questions, to determine how consistent you are, because a lot of the time we think we're consistent, but we're really not. And that's something I realized, last year that really, really paid off for me is, I was completing programs 100% time after time after time and sharing those results and that journey. And I'm not talking like, okay, you did 21-day fix or you did the 3-day refresh. I'm talking like 60 to 90 days of commitment. Because if you're just kind of hot and cold in this business, and I think that that's been a trend that we've been seeing a lot, is that people commit for 21 days and then they fall off. And this isn't just us as coaches, it's our customers too. So how do we keep them engaged and keep them going past the 21-day mark? Because really to determine consistency, you have to be doing this for a longer period of time and documenting it daily. So are you focused on creating content? Because that's something I really was getting distracted by this year, is I was focused on, I got to make videos and I got to do all this crazy stuff and create ads. I was creating and I was forgetting to document and just document what I was experiencing and what I was feeling. And that doesn't change. So if you feel like you're not being challenged and you feel like you're not getting enough done in your programs or your nutrition, or you're not learning enough, then you're not challenging yourself enough. So do something that you've never done before. For me, it was the ultimate reset. I thought, man, I'm like in a funk. As much as I wanted to like deny it and just turn a blind eye to the fact that I was feeling in a funk, I realized I wasn't inspired. I wasn't motivated. So I had to do something completely out of my comfort zone, because I've been literally looking at the ultimate reset for 3 years now since I first attempted it and failed miserably, and thought, okay, I got to do it. And guys, I'm on the other side of it telling you it was so worth it. So whatever it is for you, do something that scares you a little bit and pushes you out of your comfort zone, and share that every single day and document it, because that's what's going to inspire your audience. That's what's going to inspire your team. So lead by example daily, and understand that this is a delayed return business. So if you are sharing something daily, for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, sometimes even a year, you guys, you're not going to see the results unless you keep going. I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me, like finally in the last couple months, and have told me that they've been watching me since my 100 days of healthy. They haven't liked one post. They haven't ever commented on anything or messaged me until 2 years later. But I'm still going, man. And that's why they're like, okay, like, I guess this is for real. So don't ever lose hope in the fact that like whatever you're doing is making a difference in someone else's life, whether you know that or not. And I can't tell you how many of these people are random people I've literally never met before. But they're people that found me through so-and-so, who found me through so-and-so, and they've been following me. And that there's nothing more rewarding than that feeling. So if you haven't had that yet, hold out for it, because I promise you that it's coming to you. But let's talk a little bit more about, okay, when you lack consistency, because I know that it's hard. I know consistency is probably the number one thing that holds people back. It's because you get the wheels turning, and just as you get them turning, something happens and then it sets you back, and you kind of lose that steam and that momentum. And I'm sure everyone knows the analogy of pumping the well, right? Like you got to pump it and no water comes out. And then as soon as you kind of get that stream going, you don't have to pump it as hard. And that is exactly what this business is like. And I've heard a million different analogies for it. So if you want more, there's more where that came from. But I really don't think it's about pumping harder than anyone else. I think it's when people lack consistency, it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they can't pump hard enough. It's because they lack a vision. It's because you don't know where you want to go. You don't have goals really. And more so than goals, you don't like actually see where you want to go. And that's, again, another analogy. If you think about like, if you're just driving somewhere, usually you need the destination, you need the address. If you just wander around and try to find it, you're probably not going to get there. And if you do, it's going to take much longer time than if you have a roadmap. So for example, when I signed up in 2012, I didn't have a vision. My vision was abs and money. I was like, sweet, this seems like a great life. But like, that wasn't a vision. So, but when I signed up in 2014, I did. And that was because I was miserable, you guys. I was at a point in my life where I needed a change. And if this didn't work, I really didn't know what else was going to. So, I had that vision and that image of what day 100 was going to look like for me. And it was going to be somewhere that I was going to go and I was never going to turn back. And I'm telling you guys, 26 months later, 27 months now at this point, I'm still going. And that's because that vision has never died for me. That's something that I'm still striving for. And honestly, the last 3 months or 4 months since I quit my full-time job, I have lacked vision, because for the longest time, my vision was quitting my full-time job and I didn't paint a new one. So it's kind of like I achieved it and I was just sort of sitting here. So if you feel like you've achieved your goal, if your goal or your vision was diamond or wherever in your business and you feel stagnant, don't sit there. Don't be stagnant. Talk to your significant others, talk to your best friends about your vision, talk to Danielle, come up with that vision for yourself of where you want to go, because until you create that, it's not going to happen. When I came back from Summit in 2015, my vision was to pay off my student loans by the time I'm 30. I'm going to be 30 next month. Student loans aren't paid off, but damn it, that's still a part of my vision, and it's happening in the next 2 years. I can tell you that. So, whatever it is for you, develop it beyond just a rank or beyond, an income mark. You got to paint that picture of what being debt-free looks like to you, or what owning your dream house looks like. Vision boards are a very powerful thing. So if you haven't created one, create one, okay? Now I kind of already told you guys this slide, but one of the quotes that Danny Johnson uses is, "A man without vision will perish." And I think this is a famous quote, but it really is so true, you guys. If you don't know what you're working for, you'll never be able to find a how. So that when that alarm goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to get up. But when you have that vision, you think, okay, if I don't get up right now, putting my first kid on the school bus, if that's your vision, that's not going to happen. So you have to have that feeling, that thing you're emotionally connected to, and create the 1 to 5 year plan for yourself. And that sounds a little psycho. I think sometimes Chris is like, sheesh, she's got a whole life planned out. But, you have to kind of put a little bit of pressure on yourself, because if you're just existing and you're just going through the days, you're wasting time, you guys. The time's going to pass anyways. So you might as well make it count. So figure out what you want in life. What do you want your days to look like? And this is something I ask a lot of my coaches is, if you didn't have to work, if you didn't have to go to your full-time job, because a lot of my coaches say they love their full-time job, but if you didn't have to go, if there wasn't income tied to that, would you still go? What would you do with your days? And that's a really hard question for a lot of people to answer. A lot of people don't know, but how many times do you want to take vacation? How do you want your backyard to look? That's like a crazy question, but have you ever looked in that far into your vision of what you want your life to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now? And is it living the same life you have right now? And if it is, would you be happy with that? And that was something that I really had to face, where I thought, man, I thought I liked my corporate job, before I went to Summit of 2015. I really did. But I started to think, man, if this is my life in 5 years, when I hopefully have babies and a house and my dog, I don't want to leave them. I don't want to be in my boss's position. I started to realize that corporate ladder climbing I thought I always wanted was not anywhere near the vision I had for myself. So that was a tough pill to swallow, but thank God I had this opportunity in my life, because this has made it possible. I don't know what else would have been that vehicle for me. So figure out what drives you and what coaching has provided for you fundamentally that you were lacking before. So for me, it helps me to, I have a system now. I have a system that motivates me, that keeps me in shape and healthy, that gives me a vision for my life. I never had that from any job or any other community or hobby for that matter prior to coaching. So I know, York, I don't know if Chris had talked to you about the 9 whys that he learned at Leadership with Scott Mann. But that's something I can pass on to you, Danielle. It's something that Chris came home from this leadership conference, and I'm digressing here, but he told us, because we all think of a why as oh, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, or I want to retire my parents early, or I want to have my dream house. you kind of think of like your why as a goal, but we all have like a fundamental why, something that we're engineered to need and want in life in order to accomplish that why. And for me, the category was to find a better way. My whole life has been centered around finding a better way to do stuff. You know, like for paying off my student loans, it was for a while it was, okay, let me get another bartending job, or let me pick up some extra shifts, you know, at a retail store or something. But then I realized that coaching could do that for me. You know, for working out, I always thought, oh, I'm just going to tie myself to the treadmill and eat lettuce. But then I realized I could work out for 30 minutes a day and actually eat real food. You know, this is a better way to do that. So I can send that to you guys, because that really made it click for me. Because when you can find that fundamental why and what coaching provides for you, it's that much easier to articulate that and communicate to other people. So it makes sense beyond just, oh, I'm doing this so I can retire early. Because a lot of people, like, that's too like foo-foo, like voodoo for them, especially if they're not in this. They're kind of like, what? So if you can tell them, this gave me a system that allows me to get results and allows me to make sense of nutrition for once in my life, you know, that's a lot easier, I think, to communicate to someone and kind of get them to understand why you do what you do. Now, humility is the next thing. So a lot of the time, once you've created your vision, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but I think a lot of times people are embarrassed to share their vision. And it should be something you're excited about, right? Like, it should be something that pumps you up, but a lot of people don't want to share it. And I don't know if it's a mix between embarrassment, because it's kind of like emotional and a little gushy. But I think more than that is that people are afraid to fail. They're afraid to share their vision because they don't want people to know that they didn't meet up. They didn't stack up to it. So you have to be humble enough to share your vision. And this was a hard one for me to wrap my head around, because I'm like, wait a second, like, how does that humility and vulnerability are one and the same? Because you're humble enough to share your vulnerabilities and your, you know, shortcomings in life and your goals and where you want to go. And that's something that so many people in our world and our society need to hear from someone. They need to know that it's okay to not want to climb the corporate ladder. They need to know that it's okay to maybe not want to be a stay-at-home mom if that's not one of your goals. Like, you have to be humble and vulnerable enough to share that. They need to know that maybe you struggled with weight loss, or you struggled with some sort of disorder in your life, but you overcame that. You know, that takes a lot of humility and a lot of vulnerability to be able to share that. But you won't be able to do it if you care too much about what people think. So you have to be okay with the fact that people are going to laugh at you. They are. I'm sure some of my friends are still laughing at me, but I don't care, because I am so convinced on where I'm going with this business. They can laugh all they want. It doesn't change my direction or where I'm going. So on that note, you know, you have to tell people why you're doing what you're doing, and whether or not they understand or believe in it isn't your problem. That's not paying your bills. But what's going to pay your bills is when you help other people build a vision for themselves and tell them where your train is going. So another analogy for you, if you think of your business as a train, like, you're the conductor of this train, you guys, but you have to tell people where the hell it's going. Because if you're just on this train and you're driving aimlessly and you're not telling people what they bought a ticket for, nobody's going to stay on it if they even get on it. So you have to be willing to commit to that vision full-heartedly, and take that wheel, and do not second guess yourself. Because if you're on that train and your conductor has one foot out the door and eyes off the road, you're getting hell off that, right? Nobody wants to be on that train. So you have to be like so convinced on, I'm going here. This is my vision. I'm going here. Who's on, you know? And if people aren't in it, you have to be willing to say, okay, some will, some won't. So what, who's next? You know, like, you have to be okay with that mentality, and don't let other people's negativity and rejection get you down, because if they're negative or rejecting your vision, they weren't meant to get on your train. So you got to be okay, bless and release that, but be willing to be vulnerable enough to share that struggle and share, you know, the vision and where you're going and everything you're overcoming to get there. Because you have to understand, and this is another quote that I love, is that without struggle, there is no progress, and without progress, there is no growth. So when you're struggling, you have to understand that as long as you embrace that struggle, you guys, and, you know, do something about it, like, face it. Don't just be like, I'm struggling, I quit. No, face the struggle and go, what can I do? What can I do to be better? What can I do to learn from this? Because the quicker you can learn from it and turn it into a teachable moment, that's when you become a stronger coach. Because even if you have no coaches on your team, Someday you will, as long as you communicate this vision and you tell people where your train's going, you will have people on your team and they're going to go through that exact same struggle. So it's in that moment, it's when you can identify that struggle for them and with them, that you can tell them, hey, I was in your shoes and here's what I did to get over it. So don't sit there. Don't sit in the struggle. And I'm telling you guys that as someone who sat in the struggle for the past 3 months and didn't know what the heck to do about it. But finally I realized, okay, I needed to do something that challenged me and inspired me. And I did it. Now I know I can tell my kids, my team that, when they're struggling, I can be like, okay, like what scares the crap out of you? Like, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm going to cheer you on the whole way. And you're going to feel so inspired at the end of it because you freaking did it. And it's that energy, it's that enthusiasm that's going to be contagious. But you have to be willing to be teachable and willing to learn. So if Danielle's giving you a suggestion or she's telling you something to do, more likely than not, it's because she's been exactly where you are. She's experienced something similar or someone else on the team has, and she's seen the struggle and she knows, what could possibly help you. So is it going to be the surefire solution? Maybe not, but at least give it a try. Okay. If something's not working, don't refuse to move. Be able to be malleable and be able to change directions. Okay. So how do you start? And I've already kind of talked about this, but you have to develop a plan that inspires the shit out of you guys. Like you have to be like, oh, I'm so excited about this. I don't know if I'm going to achieve it, but I'm so pumped. And that's what I did last year with Elite. And it wasn't because of like the elite status and stuff. It was because this was a scary goal. It was something I didn't know, but I knew my team deserved to be an elite team. They deserved to have that title. And moreover, I just wanted to prove that we could do it and show them that, you guys, you don't need years of experience. You don't need to be doing this full time. You don't need to have, 15 people that are diamond on your team to get there, or 1 million elite points in the first half of the year. You can do it when everyone else says you can't. So that's why I wanted it. And I said, you know what? I'm going for it. We're going for it. And we did it. So make sure you're setting goals that about, what you want and why, and make sure it scares you a little bit and make sure it seems a little unrealistic, because again, if it's too easy and you're not struggling, you're not challenging yourself enough. You're not dreaming big enough. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's so true. So, don't settle for mediocrity. And that's something as a society, I think we've gotten really accepting of. And I think that's really sad that, at the end of your days, do you want to look back and say like, my life was good enough? Or do you want to be like, man, I had an awesome life. I had an awesome day, an awesome week, an awesome year. Like, I feel like I talk to people way too often about like, oh, how was your weekend? Or how was your week? Oh, okay. No, why? Like that happens all the time. Like you have to be willing to do something about that to make it great. So that's where the vision comes in. What do you want your days to look like? What do you want your goals to look like? Because if you're not creating that, then you're always going to have, oh, it was okay. Because you're not working towards anything. So, and what will happen if you don't make it? Because this goes back to that whole fear of, oh, I don't want to create these goals because what if it doesn't happen? Well, you're still going to be farther along than if you had never tried or if you had never created that vision. So, I don't know how many of you guys went to Summit, but he made a reference. Gary Vee was on stage and made a reference during his keynote. And he talked about, if you have time, go to a retirement home and ask the people in there and, what they would change about their life or ask them about their life. And more often than not, the common theme you're going to hear is regret. They regret not doing certain things. They regret not taking more risks or just going for it. So don't be one of those people. And most of all, this is another note. It's not on the slide, but Gary Vee had brought up a notion of just patience. You have to be willing to be patient in this business and be willing to put in that consistency, that time, that vision without any return, for 60 days or maybe even a full year. And, if you can do that, if you can be patient, I promise you it will return. But this is the bonus ingredient. So we talked about consistency, vision, and humility. The bonus ingredient, in my opinion, is belief. And there's 3 types of belief. There's belief in yourself, belief in the products, and belief in the opportunity. And you cannot be successful in this business without belief in all 3. So if you have doubt in any of those 3, that's where you need to focus. So where do you begin? You start with yourself, okay? And this is all, it's kind of a flow chart almost. So you do a program 100% and invest in yourself. That's going to help you believe in yourself that you can do hard things, that you can do this, you can get results. Because I'm telling you guys, if you give 100% to these programs, they freaking work. Like the test group results for these things they're not fudged. Like they're real. So be your own test group participant. Follow the meal plan 100%. Do not let yourself slide. And when you do that, you're going to believe in yourself. You're going to believe in the products. And when you start to share that and you see other people have success with this and you start to see your team grow organically and on the right reasons and built on integrity, that's when you start to believe in this opportunity. Because you go, holy crap, this isn't about selling anything. This is about just getting results and doing hard things and helping people, bust out of their comfort zones and crush those self-limiting beliefs that they've always had. So the belief in yourself, really stems from, do you know who you are and what you stand for? So, this, your belief, your challenge, your program, whatever you choose to do is going to be a lot different depending on where your train is going, so you got to figure that out again, and do you know who you want to become? What's holding you back? What's your vision? And I think that this is the biggest thing that I've learned in this business is the importance of self-growth and self-discovery, as cheesy as that sounds. But I really think, and my coach can tell you this because she knew me from, I think, my junior year of college until now. So 12 years, or God, no, not that long, 10 years at least. She's known me for a while, and she was like, Meredith, you are a different person. And I honestly think it's because I wasn't really me back then. I was trying to fulfill other people's expectations. I was too busy pleasing everyone else and trying to meet society's standards that I really, I gave too many shits about everyone else's opinions, and I wasn't me. So it really took a lot for me to understand who I was inside and what I wanted from my life. So if that's where you're at, you're not alone. There's so many people out there that are like, I don't freaking know what I want for my life. But invest in personal development and dive into that and start with that and really think about your perception of yourself. What do you think of yourself as? Are you a confident person? Because if you're not, you got to work on that self-confidence. You got to read You Are a Badass, like front to back 10 times, but what are other people's perception of you, and are those the same? Because if you're letting other people's perception of you determine what you think of yourself, then you really, really got to work on that, because it really needs to be based on what you think of you. That's all that matters in this business. So make yourself a priority and stop aiming to please everyone else. Now, believing before seeing. So this is really the proof that it's out there. And I kind of talked about this already is, the proof is out there. We all know this stuff works, but are you willing to withstand the journey and have the discipline that it takes to do a program 100%? Because it's not easy, you guys, but I'm telling you, when you do it, like coming off the Ultimate Reset, like I love champagne, I love wine, I love peanut butter. But today I had like half a teaspoon of peanut butter because I was like, oh, it's good, but I'm not going to like pig out on it like I used to. So your behaviors, your mindset, your discipline will change if you just give yourself the time and the patience it takes to make those changes. So it's not a game of skill. It's a game of belief and integrity. And I've talked about that a lot. But if your sole purpose in this business is making money, you might want to do some soul searching, because this is really a labor of love for the first 2 years, in my opinion. I'm a little over 2 years in, and I still have my days where I'm like, man, like, what am I doing? Like, this is hard, and days of disappointment, days of where my belief is lacking. But that's where I was before I did the reset. And I said, man, I got to do something to reignite my spark and reignite my flame. And I followed these steps. Started with me. I started with doing something 100%. And I'm telling you, it works. So do some soul searching, figure out what you want, but understand that this labor of love concept really weeds out the people who are just trying to sell and really trying to get kind of a quick fix. So you're going to have people on your team that quit a year in. It's just, or 6 months in, or even 2 years in. I've heard of Star Diamond coaches quitting. And a lot of the time it's because this is hard. It's hard. It's disappointing at times, but for every ebb, there is a flow. And for every dip, there's going to be a high. So you have to be willing to just embrace that and understand that this is all about building relationships. So be present and engaged in your team calls. Cheers to all of you guys that are on this call. It's awesome. And be on these calls. Get to events. Get to your Super Saturdays. Even if you think they're the craziest, like, weird Kool-Aid drinking thing ever. Get there. Just get there. Meet your team. Be engaged, learning about the new product launches, and listen to the National Wake Up Call. All of those things. And Danielle had mentioned the cruise, the cruise summit. Make sure you're at those things, you guys, because that's going to help you to really understand what this business is about, what parts of it you want, and what parts of it you don't. Because I'm telling you, there are certain areas of the business and aspects of the business that I go, no, thank you. You know, it's a little too beauty queen show for me sometimes. So, I mean, you got to kind of figure out which parts you like and which ones you don't, but hold on to the ones that you like and let that help you paint that vision. But also create a vision that you can't achieve without Beachbody. And that sounds maybe a little bit like hardcore for some of you, but I heard a video from Brigitte Linford, who's another 15-star awesome coach, really humble, super successful. And she talked about how Beachbody is an accelerated growth plan. So if you think about Beachbody, it's not really Beachbody that's at the core of this. It's everything we teach, you know, the personal development, the physical health, engaging with others and building relationships. Those are all things where people have trouble with those sometimes. And what happens is they start to face a lot of their shortcomings, a lot of their fears in that process. And it's not Beachbody that's bringing those up. You know, it's really, so if you lack consistency, you lack discipline, it's not Beachbody's fault. It's you. So, you know, Beachbody is just bringing that to the surface. So by bringing that to the surface, it allows you to either face it and conquer it, or you can walk away from it. But I guarantee you, when you walk away from it, you're going to encounter that in some other aspect of your life, whether it's at your full-time job, whether it's in your family life, you're going to somehow encounter that again, and you're going to have to face it. But Beachbody makes you face that like head on from the start. And that allows you to grow as a person, as an individual, you know, emotionally, physically, financially, a lot faster than people who just settle for the mediocre, brush their insecurities and their shortcomings under the rug and kind of stay the easy course. So I thought that was a really interesting point, a really interesting concept that she talked about, because I was like, wow, that's so true. Because when I faced some of those shortcomings and those insecurities back in 2012 when I quit, it's because I wasn't ready to face them. But when I was there in 2014 and I faced the same things, but I was like, you know what? Now's the time. It's now or never, baby. I got to do this. So, you know, whatever that is for you, don't look at it as a challenge because of Beachbody. Be grateful that Beachbody brought that out in you so you can conquer that. And you're going to be so much better than other aspects of your life because of that. Now, this is the last slide. So when you're a coach, you have to understand, this is like kind of just in closing. So we talked about a lot here and we'll open it up for questions, but you're a friend and a mentor. And I really think that last year I like owned that. I was friends and I was a mentor to my coaches. I would put on my mentor hat, we talk business, and then friend hat, we talk friendships. But when you get too in the mentor phase and you feel like you're forcing people to do this business because of your goals, that's where things really start to kind of get off course. So you have to always understand and take this responsibility seriously to care more about people. So care about the people, your customers, your coaches, you know, the people that you're encountering in life. Like, be the person that you needed. And I say that a lot, is like, be the person that you needed to talk to, the person that you needed to inspire you. And, you know, understand when you're talking to someone, you need to understand their goals. And this goes, you know, especially for your challengers. I always remind my team that, you know, especially when we're talking Success Club and points and stuff, like, don't just focus on the points. Like, I want to hear who's behind those points and what is their why. Why did they buy a challenge pack? What are their goals? When are they starting their program? Like, you need to know those facts. And if you don't, take that as your assignment and your call to action to go back to those people and say, hey, Sue, you know, I know you bought a challenge pack last month. We never really talked about why. You know, what are your goals? How are you doing with those? Like, how can I help you? Because if you haven't tied this back to an emotional reason why they want the weight, they're going to end up like I did in 2012 and just giving up. You have to help them find that vision and understand, you know, what's holding them back from their goals. What are their fears? What are their insecurities? And sometimes this doesn't happen easily. Sometimes you got to kind of pull it out and peel back the layers, because some people open up more than others. Like, I'm usually an open book. If someone says the right thing, I'm like, well, I'll tell them everything that's going on in my life. I'll cry, I'll laugh, you know, like, but some people aren't like that. So you have to kind of build that relationship and build that trust and understand how you can help them achieve whatever goals they have. So so let's talk about like, when coaches drop rank. So I had a lot of coaches at Diamond who have recently, you know, their emeralds have lost rank, and they just keep going, oh, my emerald, I need my emerald to get their rank so I can get my diamond back. And I always ask them, well, does she care about emerald? And they're like, well, I don't know. I don't think so. It's like, okay, well, you need to talk about that first. And if that's not a goal of hers, then let her not be emerald. That's okay. But find someone who does want to be emerald. Find someone who does want to be diamond. Because if it's not a priority for them and they're not working or stressed about the fact that they lost rank, then it's not important to them, but you have to find out what is important to them. So just because they haven't kept their rank or they're not fulfilling a requirement for you for elite or whatever your goals are from a business perspective doesn't mean you just walk away from them and forget about them, because they invested in you, they invested in your help. So make sure that you're making that effort to re-engage with them, and just keep leading the way. That's the best thing you can do. If you had everyone on your team quit tomorrow, you're really sad, but like, you got to just keep going, because you're going to make it there with or without those people. And you have to be so okay with that, but be supportive of people when they do leave or when they do decide this isn't for them. So I didn't mean to leave and kind of like on a low note, but just, I don't want you guys to be so focused on elite and like points and stuff that you're dragging people. You want to find the people that are like, yeah, like we're doing this, we're going to the top, and like they're psyched about it. But if it's people that just want to work on their personal journey, you got to love them so hard and help them, because someday they might come out of the woodwork 2 years later when they hit rock bottom and decide like, hey, I kind of want to do this coaching thing, and, and crush it. So you never know, but always be true to you. And I think this quote by Zig Ziglar is really, really so true for this business, that when you help enough people achieve their goals, you will achieve yours. So even if it's not a rank in the business, if you just keep focusing on helping people get results and helping them live a happier life, this will happen organically. You're going to find those people that are inspired by you doing that, and they're going to do that same thing. So, so keep that really front of mind, and in your hearts as you lead with this business. And I think you guys you'll achieve your goals and then some. So that's it. I know that was a lot. If you guys have questions, I would be happy to chat.
Good, Shannon.
I always feel like that's like two separate presentations that I jammed into one. So I hope you guys are not overwhelmed, but.
You mute for a second. Your computer.
Maybe it's me.
Maybe you can type it.
Yeah, I'll try and type it.
There you go.
Can you hear me okay? So I was just curious, sorry for all the technical difficulties. I was just curious if, when you were talking about sharing your vision, something I've kind of been struggling with craftily articulating is my vision in terms of, maybe stepping away from my job, with having so many people that I'm friends with on social media that work at my job. I just didn't know if you kind of had any suggestions, or if you kind of handled that in like a crafty way, or how you kind of shared that element when maybe you're also not wanting to get fired. That makes sense.
Yes. So that was one of my questions too. And it was crazy because when I gave my notice to my boss, I thought like for sure he saw it coming. I was like, he's got to know, like we weren't friends on Facebook, but I'm public, and I am friends with a lot of like my team on Facebook. So they would like my stuff, and his wife was a customer of mine. So I'm like, he's got to know, like, and instead he was like shocked. And I was like, what? So I'm like, brush your shoulders off, kept that one under the radar. But I guess really I didn't talk about leaving my full-time job. I always talked about like, I'm hustling, I'm owning my full-time job and my business. And to be honest, I feel like that's been hard the last couple of months, because I'm like, what is my identity? Like, am I just like the full-time coach now, or do I still talk about the corporate world? I don't know. So anyways, I digress. But really what I focused on was my goal outside of leaving my job. So that was kind of like a little bit on the DL. But really for me, it was paying off my student loans in full. So that's what I focused on, because leaving my full-time job was one goal, but paying off my student loans was another one. I also have our dream house on my vision board. So pick something else that's in your vision to talk about, I think, outside of that. Because to be honest, I thought like leaving my full-time job was going to be something that just like exploded my business. I was like, I'm going to leave my job. The masses are going to come running because everyone must hate their job and want to do this full-time. I just thought that was going to happen. I haven't gotten anyone that's been like, hey, I want to do what you do, because I think people, they just don't get it. So I think sometimes when you're working full time, you're more relatable than if you are a full-time coach a lot of the time. So, and I don't say that to scare anyone. Like if your goal is to go full time, you'll definitely be successful. But I think own the fact that you're working both at the same time, because I think a lot of people will see that as like, hey, she's doing this while she has a full-time job. And that's so much more manageable than like, a lot of people do need a second job. Some people, you know, they work on the weekends. For me, it was always like, maybe I should go get bartending shifts, or there's a shopping plaza here. Should I go work at Lululemon? I spend half my money there anyways. You know, I started to think that, and I was like, no, because then I'm still reporting to someone. I'm still creating those hours or having to clock in and out. But when I'm coaching, I create my own hours. So I think really it's about owning that. And I honestly think that the writing will be on the wall for the people that see that as like, what if I could do this and leave my full-time job? You know, like they don't need to hear it from you in like blatant terms to start seeing that vision for themselves. So that's what I would recommend. I hope that helps.
I would totally agree with that because I'm the same way.
Yeah, where it's like, you don't want to say it. I don't think anyone does. Like, who would want to be like, I'm quitting. I'm out this bitch, you know, like, no, nobody's going to be like, I think people are always going to be like, oh, I don't want to really put it out there. But when you come to that like epiphany moment, or some people are miserable in their jobs and they have no problem talking about it. But I wasn't, quite honestly. I just didn't like I was over the travel, you know, so I think pick the other elements of your vision and paint those. And those sometimes are the elements that people are like, what is this chick drinking? Because like, really, she's going to do all this stuff in the next year. But then when they start seeing it happening, they're like, holy crap. Like she is going to the Dominican Republic and she is taking her team on a retreat and all this stuff, you know, those other things. When they start to see that come to real life, it really becomes inspiring, I think.
What else do you guys have?
So one of the things that I liked that you talked about was consistency, and I'm sure everyone on this team call knows that's my weakest point.
Yeah.
And more so, it kind of stood out when you said consistency of business. So I was wanting to ask you, how do you track your vitals? How do you track who you talk to and kind of see if it's different than anything that I've heard or anything that I've tried yet? And that's kind of my question.
No, that's a great question. And to be honest, that is not my forte. Like I've been I try a bunch of different things. I've tried the Power of Threes tracker. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's like, you know, there's connect, invite, follow up, or I forget what the fourth category is, but there's like 3 different lines. I tried that for a while. And it just didn't feel right. I had a Google tracker, all this stuff. Honestly, I use a whiteboard. It's behind me, or where is it now? Chris moved it. It's on I don't know. He isn't in the living room, but it's my 10 and play. So I usually, and if he has to use it, I take a picture of it and I'll rewrite it. But it's a 10 and play. I always have 10 people that I'm having a conversation with, like 10 prospects. I hate to call them that. Ugh, I got out of my sales job for a reason. But honestly, it's the 10 and play, and that's how I keep my pipeline full, and that's how I consistently hit Success Club 10 every month. It's not anything crazy. You're going to hear a lot of coaches saying like, I message 50 people a day. That has never been my jam. Like I said, I got out of sales because I hate feeling like a salesperson and talking to people that don't want to talk to me. So really what I focus more on is adding to my network and then tracking new friends. So I'll track them, or even I go through my current friends list and re-engage with them. Like I'll go, and I'm not like creepy. I don't like send them like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 15 years. How's life? You know, I usually will go and like look at their pictures and see if they're active on social media, and I'll like some of their pictures. Because I never think that, like when someone likes my picture and it's someone I haven't talked to in 15 years, I'm not like, I came out of the woodwork. You know, like I'll think that, but then I'll be like, that was really nice. I wonder how they've been. So, you know, I'll do that sometimes. Is I focus on liking their stuff, you know, then maybe throwing in a comment like a week later or something. And then usually the conversation transpires pretty naturally because people like see what I'm doing. And a lot of them will be like, the ones that are interested will proactively message me, or I'll find something in one of their posts and send them a message and be like, hey girl, like I saw those shoes you're wearing in that picture and this is totally weird and random, but can I ask you where you got them? And then it kind of like goes from there. And I actually do want to know where she got the shoes from. You know, like, so most of my stuff is sincere. It's not just simply to start a conversation. But when I do that, then I'll write their name down. So I kind of keep them. Sometimes I have a 20 in play, like sometimes it's not just 10, but I always have at least 10. And that's what I track. And I need simplicity. I can't have like too many things going, too many systems. And that's what I realized this year is the simpler, the better. So I hope that kind of helps. That's, if you're a pen to paper person, like keep that going and have those be your follow-ups. But I also once a month do an export of my customer list from Beachbody, and then I'll send out like a newsletter or something just to check in. Hey, here's when the next challenge group is, like, and I'll include like a healthy recipe or some sort of tip or something. So I'm adding some free value there too. That kind of helps me to stay warm with those people. And then I also have something called the Fly Fit community. So my team is now the Fly team. Used to be Team Fly Girl, but now that we have guys, we're the Fly team. And that stands for first love yourself or first lead yourself, because that's really what I think is at the heart of this. So we have the Fly Fit community, and that's all of like my discount coaches and my customers from previous challenge groups. So after they're done with the challenge group, I'll put them in the Fly Fit community, and we kind of keep that as like an ongoing challenge group. Like today I did a contest for the Core de Force preview. So anyone who completed that posted a sweaty selfie and then told us like what Beachbody and Shakeology have done for their life. Like if they posted that, I'm going to pick 3 people and send them like a Fixate cookbook or t-shirt or something. So I'll do that like once or twice a month. And it kind of keeps it fun, keeps it interactive. And that way I can kind of see who maybe needs followed up with or who needs some attention. So that's kind of a fun way to keep it going. So just a couple ideas. Hopefully that's helpful.
Hey, Meredith, one more question Jackie wrote in the chat, that she's worried about her friends feeling like she's exploiting them. How have you overcome that? And she's a newer coach.
So that's a good question. And honestly, it's this is a hard one because like I said in my presentation, is you want to make sure you're communicating to your friends what your goal is. So, and I didn't do this at first because I didn't really I didn't know what my goal was. It was just to get to day 100. I wasn't really trying to sell challenge packs. Like if people were interested, great. But if not, I wasn't approaching them. So I didn't like go to my best friends and say like, guys, I'm starting a business. Like I want you, in this with me. And I kind of wished I did now in retrospect. So if if I could change one thing, I would say, go to your friends and say, hey guys, like I would love you to be part of this, but no pressure at all. Like I'll, maybe not pay for the challenge pack, but I'll give you the commission I make off of your challenge pack if you want to do this with me. I just want you to experience this positivity and like everything I'm feeling from this. If you hate it, that's okay. I want to extend it to you because it is something that's important to me. So I would maybe put that out there and offer, the whole, I'll give you my commission. But just saying like, no offense if you don't engage, because a year or two down the line when maybe they're not a huge part of your life or Beachbody's become a bigger part of your life, at least they can say, well, she didn't invite me. She didn't ask me to be a part of this. But for me personally, I just don't really talk about it with my close friends who aren't into it. So I try to keep our friendship sort of separate from Beachbody. And if they ask me how it is, it's almost like this is my job now. So I ask you how your job is. I kind of expect you to ask how mine is going with no expectation that I'm going to sell you something. So I think that's just kind of telling them up front, like, that's not my goal. I would love to help you if you need it. But if you don't, I'm perfectly cool with that. I hope you can still be, best friends or whatever. So I hope that's helpful. But I think also one thing that might be helpful for you too is that like probably 85-90% of my team are people I didn't know prior to this or like old acquaintances. So like my mom's a coach, Chris is a coach, and my best friend literally just signed up 2 months ago, and she's like a half an emerald away from diamond. Like she's killing it. But I'm like, I told you 2 years ago that you should do this, and she didn't. But it took 2 years of like tension in our friendship, because she didn't understand what I was doing. But other than that, it was really like 95% of people are just like acquaintances and people that have found me through people or 6 degrees of separation. So I think you'll be surprised how much of a ripple effect you'll have on the community around you if you're just yourself and genuine and have that right intention with it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Jackie, when you kind of just eliminate that from your head and just do you, like people are going to think good or bad, no matter what you do. So you might as well do something that makes you happy.
Yeah. And your friends this is my perspective at least. And if you're communicating why you're doing this from the front or from the get-go is, yeah, seriously, they hate it. But like, if your friends aren't going to be happy for something that makes you really happy, then it's harsh, but I would question that friendship, and that's really, it's made me reevaluate a lot of my friendships. Cause I'm like, you know what? Like if you can't see that I'm literally like so happy, and 2.5 years ago, I was drinking myself to oblivion 4 nights a week. Like, and you don't see that as like a change, like you're mad because I'm not your drinking buddy anymore. Like, that just kind of, wow. Like that made me realize why these people were my friends. And it's because like a lot of them, we were drinking buddies, and that's cool. We had a great time, but if that's all we have in common, then I think we got to work on our friendship,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Meredith. I really appreciate you hopping on. I know our team loves kicking off October with you, and I'm sure that they're feeling way more inspired and keep pushing for your goals.
Guys, like, just have fun with this. Like, honestly, when you have fun, it's contagious. And when you're enthusiastic about this, even if you have no coaches and you're personally sponsored downline, like, just be pumped about the fact that you're part of this community with like all this just good juju. Like, we need more of that in the world, especially with where our society is right now. Like, spread that, and don't be ashamed to do it. Because when you do that, people will naturally gravitate towards you, and it'll all just happen naturally. So, focus on culture and recognition and excitement, and I really think the rest falls into place.
Awesome. Well, say hello to Chris for us, and hopefully I will see you at No, you went to leadership last year.
And I'll see. Yeah. I'm like sad I can't go again. It was awesome. So for anyone who's pushing for that, it is so worth it, you guys. That it's so fun, and it's like a smaller, intimate thing than Summit. And don't discount yourself. Like, you can do it. Like, you all have what it takes. Okay.
Well, I will see you in the Dominican then next year.
Yes. Awesome. All right, guys. Have an awesome night. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Meredith.
Yeah.